While U.S. envoys woo Tehran in Swiss resorts, is Hezbollah quietly sharpening its sights in Lebanon, preparing a deadlier battlefield even as diplomats talk peace far from the front line? Has Mojtaba's proxy turned the Lebanon border into a deadly hunt for Israeli commanders, transforming every patrol and observation point into a potential kill zone for top officers? Are night vision drones, hidden cameras and radio-sniffing tech now stalking IDF officers along the yellow line, turning the frontier into a high-tech trap where every signal can betray a leader's position? Are top Israeli field commanders now the prime targets on Hezbollah's kill list, forcing Israel to ask how long it can sustain this war if its most experienced officers are hunted first? As U.S. Iran talks open in Switzerland, Iran's Lebanon proxy Hezbollah is actively hunting IDF commanders along the border, turning diplomacy abroad into pressure on the ground. According to Walla, Hezbollah has rebuilt a dense observation and intelligence network along the Yellow Line in Lebanon, restoring its eyes and ears opposite Israeli positions. IDF officials report that Hezbollah is increasingly directing its fire and reconnaissance towards senior field commanders rather than lower-ranking troops. This assessment follows a series of attacks in which high-ranking IDF officers were directly involved, reinforcing concerns about focused leadership targeting. Israeli sources told Walla that Hezbollah is concentrating on night operations to track commanders, exploiting darkness to mask surveillance and strike preparations. The group is reported to be using drones, fixed cameras and concealed observation posts along the border to build a real-time picture of IDF movements. Military sources say Hezbollah is tracking radio activity and distinctive command signatures to identify which units and vehicles carry senior officers. These operations are reportedly built to single out senior officers in the field, turning routine communications into markers for high-value targets. Israeli officials, cited by Walla, warn that this emerging pattern now forces changes in IDF procedures, from movement routes to how and when commanders use radios. Drones are being flown on constant reconnaissance missions, quietly scanning Israeli positions from above and feeding Hezbollah a real-time picture of the front. Observation posts dug in near the Yellow Line keep watch day and night, turning the border into a belt of human and electronic eyes focused on every Israeli move. Fixed and hidden cameras monitor IDF movements along key routes, capturing patterns and routines that can later be exploited for ambushes. Specialized technology listens for and tracks radio activity, using the chatter of Israeli units to pinpoint where commanders are operating. Night operations concentrate on command targets, with teams using darkness, sensors and drones to follow senior officers when they feel safest. Deep familiarity with the rugged terrain gives Hezbollah an edge in intelligence collection, allowing its fighters to hide sensors and teams where Israeli patrols least expect them. A probe into the 52nd Battalion commander's death points to a layered Hezbollah ambush, indicating pre-planned, multi-stage targeting rather than a chance encounter. Investigators suspect the attack combined an explosive drone with either an anti-tank missile or a mortar strike to maximize the chances of a fatal hit. Officials report that the strike ignited a tank, which then burned for hours as ammunition inside detonated, amplifying the impact of the original ambush. Recently, the former 401st Brigade commander was severely wounded in a Hezbollah drone strike, adding to the list of high-profile officers caught in precision attacks. The deputy commander of the 36th Division was likewise injured by an explosive device in the field, underscoring how senior ranks are increasingly exposed near the front. The killing of the 52nd Battalion commander reinforces Israeli fears that Hezbollah is now pursuing a deliberate, focused strategy of leadership targeting along the Lebanon border. On June 20th, reports citing Iranian sources warned that Iranian missiles could be launched at Israel, signaling that patience in Tehran is wearing thin as bombardments continue despite the memorandum. This development came even as Israel continued bombing targets in Lebanon, despite having agreed to a ceasefire with Hezbollah, a contradiction that Tehran holds up as proof of bad faith. While local media cited anonymous Iranian sources about possible missile launches, Iran's foreign ministry effectively reiterated the same message in official language, stressing that failure to comply with commitments would trigger a firm response.
Look, we did not sign this commitment for it not to be implemented. This commitment was reached after several weeks of very intensive negotiations, through the efforts of the mediators, the goodwill of Iran, and, most importantly, backed by national strength and unity. Naturally, we will spare no effort necessary to ensure its implementation. However, as we have said, commitment in return for commitment. If the other side refuses to fulfill its obligations, the Islamic Republic of Iran will, in turn, take the necessary measures. This trip is, in fact, a visit aimed at demanding that the other side fulfill its commitments. Clause 13 of the Memorandum of Understanding is very clear. Negotiations for a final agreement will begin when the implementation of the commitments set out in clauses 1, 4, 5, 10, and 11 has started and their implementation continues. Unfortunately, we are not witnessing such a situation. Therefore, during this trip and these talks, we intend to press for the implementation of the other side's commitments and to determine how exactly the other side intends to carry out its obligations. Well, the commitments are very clear. Clause 1 of the Memorandum of Understanding is the most important part of the parties' mutual commitments, namely ending the war on all fronts, including in Lebanon. We have adhered to our commitments. The other side was obliged to compel those under its influence, specifically the Zionist regime, to cease fire in Lebanon. In this regard, we have seen that they have failed to fulfill their obligations, and this constitutes a clear violation of the ceasefire understanding.
In a dramatic move, Iran also moved to shut the Strait of Hormuz, citing what it calls U.S. violations of ceasefire commitments and continued attacks on Lebanon by its ally Israel. Tehran has warned commercial vessels against approaching the crucial choke point, cautioning that their security could be at risk as the situation with the United States and Israel deteriorates again. Reports indicate that Israel agreed to a renewed ceasefire with Hezbollah after several days of intense escalation. Despite the agreement, Prime Minister Netanyahu has not publicly commented on or celebrated the new truce. Instead, the Israeli leader highlighted ongoing IDF operations across southern Lebanon. Netanyahu said Israeli forces struck 150 targets and eliminated dozens of Hezbollah operatives during the campaign. The Prime Minister stressed that the operations were carried out exactly as he had instructed. Meanwhile, reports claim Israel intensified its offensive around the strategically important Ali al-Taher Hills. Heavy artillery, Apache helicopters and white phosphorus munitions were reportedly used during the fighting. The area overlooks Nabatea and is believed to contain a major Hezbollah underground command complex. Military observers describe the site as one of Hezbollah's most significant tunnel strongholds in southern Lebanon. Reports also claim Israeli armored forces are once again attempting to advance toward Nabatea.